have any control. You
This
feel
meeting
as
is
if
being recorded.
you feel as if you don't have any control. So but then you have to lean into the surrender. Well, lean into the surrender. There's no other way around it. You know.
Yes, yes, yes. Well said, well said. And it took a body of water. It took a body of water for even me to be awakened by that reality. Like, listen, at this point, I'm stressing out because I can't make a decision. I don't know how to behave in this new relationship because I was dealing with a lot of old wounds. I was uncertain. I was very new to my practice in faith, in having spiritual discipline, in praying in the morning, uh, uh, engaging in things that was healthy for my soul. I didn't have those resources in place. I just started a job in the human service field, so those things were kind of new to me. And being able to get access to nature and looking at a big body of water and said, wow, I don't have control. And now my problem is that I was trying to control everything. So it took water, a thing that you even described, so that when the waves come, it just kind of blows you. It hits you harder than a rock. And so sitting there and acknowledging that I don't know how deep this water is. I don't know where this water can take someone. That's how much control we have. We don't. And there's certain things we just kind of, we just need to give it to our God. And sometimes we don't. We give it to someone else, or we hold on to these things. So, good morning, Tabitha. Good morning. I'm sorry
Good
you was having
morning.
trouble getting in. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Say hi, Kenzo. Say hi to the people. Hi.
What's up? How are you?
Good.
Oh, good, good, good. So this month we're talking about water. Oh, you're muted, Tabitha.
Water, beautiful, yet you can drown. you need it to live, and it can also kill you. Look at that.
Oh my goodness. You see, you went straight into like the scary part of water. And what's interesting is it's raining today. It's raining, April shower, and it always rains for my birthday. Always. It is hilarious. I remember wanting to wear such a beautiful dress, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to wear this for my birthday. That was back in elementary school, and then it would just pour rain, and I'm like, oh, what a disappointment. I can't wear my dress. I'm going to get soaked. So there's just a lot of things we can connect with, a lot of events, a lot of spiritual experiences, and even just our own lives on water. So what do you I know Tabitha went into like you can drown, but and I must confess, I can't swim. No judgment, no judgment. But is there anything else that comes up for you? Anything that you can remember in reference to water?
It's hydrating.
Mm.
So that, like, especially on a hot day, when you have a nice big cold glass of water, it's just so refreshing, and it just like gives you life.
Oh, gives you life. Yes, yes. What about your little one over there? Does he have something to say about water?
You have anything to say about water? No.
No. Do you like to play outside in the sprinklers?
Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like to drink water?
Yeah.
Oh, good, good. A lot of kids don't like to drink water. They say it's boring. But then I know a lot of kids that just only wants to drink water. Those are the good ones.
Yeah, that's all we really have in the house is water. Our house is boring.
Beautiful, beautiful. So April showers, we will be touching on water, God's creation. So I'm going to share my screen here and just kind of briefly touch on the magnificence of water and how it operates, and then this month alone we will kind of understand or have a deeper awareness of what God's system is, and what water okay. As soon as I share my screen, usually I'm muted, so you guys can hear me, correct?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you can see my slide. Okay, beautiful. So what's interesting, fun fact, is water is a cycle. So you think of water, I want you to start picturing a circle of life. It's interesting how water is formed. And even in the beginning of our time creation, if you read Genesis first, it says, it was a body of water. It started off with a body of water, but we'll get into the spiritual part of water. But right now, I just want to kind of give you some scientifics that water is considered a cycle. It starts from water is being poured down, from clouds. I used to think water is poured down from heaven. That is my childhood kind of theories. We always come up with some theory and some wonderful theories too, and questions of how high is the sky. Those questions that only God can answer. But water it pours down from us, to us through rain. And as rain falls, it then sits on earth. It sits on earth. It sits on the ocean. It sits on the lake, and it's just kind of poured down through waterfalls and different, I guess, pockets that water ends up staying in. And as the sun comes up, water then evaporates, and it causes water vapors, and water vapors then turn into gas. So these things you don't see, but you just feel it. Sometimes you feel the moist in the air. You can tell the difference between an environment that has moist versus an environment that is just dry, like the desert. The desert is very dry, and the sun is beaming. Your body starts to sweat, which produces is water. Our body is actually consumed with mostly water. So it's just so interesting how God orchestrated all of this. It started, the earth started with a body of water, and the Spirit was hovering over the body of water. We receive water through rain that comes from the sky. It sits into a big body of water that never overflows. I mean, unless it's a storm, then it just kind of goes up, and it has its own interesting way of rising. And unfortunately, if there's a tsunami, there's a hurricane, and it's just kind of really becomes extremely dangerous. But overall, the water just sits in the ocean, and it never overflows. It just sits there. And in place too, if it sits in place, that's why people are able to make houses in the beach in a certain mile or distance, in a certain distance. So it's just finding really interesting. Then water turns into gas, and gas we don't see, but we can feel it. and we know the moisture in the air, and it goes back up. It goes back up to the sky, and then it just stays in the clouds, so it automatically has its own pocket. And when it becomes too cold, or the temperature just become too overwhelming, then it starts to rain again. And it's a cycle that just happens over and over and over and over again, for years, for centuries, and so forth. So what do you think about that, Sylvia? Just kind of having that understanding of how water is being made and created and poured into us.
I think that I think it's pretty like pretty amazing, and I actually have seen when I went upstate like a cloud, and my second mom, I said, "What is that? What is that?" It was like this big white thing that, and she goes, "Oh, that's just accumulating water or something like that." I said, "What? I've never seen anything like that." But I think it's kind of securing to know that this has never stopped for years, and it just is being constantly being given to the world, like I'm that's what I feel about that.
It's constantly being given and poured into the world. Beautiful. It hasn't stopped, right?
It's secure because now we know that the plants are going to grow, and I can't make the plants grow unless this water makes this happen. So we're all being taken care of on a level that we don't normally like remember or think about, that we don't normally think about, because there's something bigger than us already taking care of this, like this cycle that was already created prior to, because we didn't, like, when we're little, we don't think about it. We just ask little things like, oh, look, it's rain, it's fun to get wet. I love standing in the rain. I love like just getting poured. A couple of times I've just let the rain fall over me, and it's just, it feels good. Since I still feel good as an adult, but things that we overlook these things, like plants that are grown, the trees that we need to breathe are being born because of this cycle. Woo. So yeah, the trees that we need, it's just things that we like overlook, and we only like hear like in science class, and we're like, oh, evaporation and all of this. But when we look at
they made it boring.
yeah. And then you think about, like, with rain comes stuff like thunder. My nephew used to listen to this sound, go, thunder is the sound that lightning makes. Thunder is the sound. It's like this. But it's something pretty like deep when we really think about that,
Yes. I love how you said that we're being taken care of, and we just don't even pay attention to those things. It's what an awakened moment. I don't think we're going to see rain the way we do anymore. Tabitha, what do you think about the water cycle?
Things like that just amazes me. It just amazes me how it takes, you think, I was brought up saying, rain comes from heaven, God is crying, the angels are crying, like stuff like that. But the actual process, that stuff always amazes me. It always does, because it's so, that's just like how they say, in that scripture, every part of the body of Christ is important, because everything plays a role. The way how every part of it, just to have the rain come down, just to have it make it grow, just for us to have water, just for us to, like, it always amazes me. I was never into science. I was never into anything like that. I just, it's amazing how things work, how the cycle is. And like to piggyback off of what she said, when you are younger, just like with snow, you look at it like fun, playing in the rain, running outside, getting your hair wet. Sometimes those were my best hair days, when I got a little wet. But then as you get older, it's like a nuisance. It creates traffic. Now your hair's getting wet, you know? So appreciation of knowing what it's doing. Like sometimes the
Oh,
things that are an inconvenience to us is needed and necessary for growth.
yes, yes. Oh, how we grow up and we just forget the little things that used to bring us so much joy. You know, um, I consider myself a big kid, and I have always taken time as a little child to just meditate and be in tune with my just things that makes me happy. And I say I'm a big kid because when it pours, I take my daughter out and I say, "Come on, let's go run." And we're running down the street and it's pouring. I mean, I am older, so I get sick quicker. So it does have an impact in my body. But it's that moment that it's like I don't care. I just want to feel just enlightened like I used to as a child when we didn't care. We used to just run outside and then come home and we're all wet and the floors are wet. My mom is yelling, "What are you guys doing? Take off your shoes. You're gonna wet my," and we forget these are the little things that brought us so much joy. So it amazes me how God just knew what we needed, what makes us happy, what brings us joy. And if there's anything that I'm encouraging you all today is to tap into that little girl, that little boy, that childhoodness in you when it comes down to God's creation and embrace it. I think about the birds, how they sing with joy because water is being poured down to them and they get to drink and be fed. And us, we need that water to cleanse the earth, to give us life, to give us air. And how we embrace it can be through stuff like running, singing, just thanking God for it and accepting it without grudging, without complaining or rejecting it. So that being said, the water cycle, it evolves and it continues. And when I think about cycle, I think of routine. I think of routine, how God creation is a system. Water pours down, evaporates, goes up, it gives us water, and it's just constantly going over and over again. It's a thing that we need daily. So to highlight this series on water, one of the most outstanding scriptures that highlights water and gives its power, I would say, or a significant meaning is in John 4:13 and 13 and 14. And it was when Jesus went into the whale and sat down, and sat down and asked for water to the Samaritan woman. And it's interesting because during the time of Jacob, he himself left through the wilderness and ended up in a well, met his future wife, and from there had many children, as it was written. So it also started from God's spirit hovering over water to Jacob meeting his wife in a well to ending up with Jesus in a well, saying this to the Samaritan woman who will now share the the gospel, well, not even much of the gospel, but share that Jesus, the Messiah, has come, and he came with a message. He came with wisdom, and to open our eyes, not focusing on how we were left alone to die, but mainly to give us life again, to make us remember who our Heavenly Father is and how much we're taken care of, and to give us guidance and where we should go so that we can remain young, life, full of energy, full of goodness, joy, happiness, because we are remembered. We haven't been forgotten, and we are being taken care of. So when Jesus sat there after traveling so far in his ministry, he strategically planned this trip to sit in this well by himself, waiting for a woman who has been neglected, rejected, punished for having multiple relationships and seeking love, and being judged because of her desire to and being bold in finding love, but looking at it in wrong places. So Jesus says, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. And he's just giving the facts. So as she has traveled very far to this well and had kind of took water out of it, every day she goes to this well in the heat, in the middle of the day, because she's unable to travel with the other woman. The other woman, due to her sin, now has to travel in the heat every day so that she can live and give water to her family. And so Jesus says, listen, you're doing this every day, but you will still be thirsty again. However, whoever drinks the water I give him, they themselves will become a spring of water, welling up to eternal life. Like, that has a whole different meaning now. We're no longer looking at our flesh and everyday hustle and how to live. We now have this information that Jesus says, hey, imagine a life that you never have to thirst again. What do you think about that, Sylvia?
I think that he's trying to say that we thirst for something different, and if we keep repeatedly doing the same or looking in the same place there, but with him we will not be thirsty, and we will also, because we will be filled with something more, and we can become vessels.
Mm-hmm.
Because then he says we sprout, and they themselves they will become, well, I'm sorry, because I'm kind of driving, I'm trying to read it at the same time.
Okay, no, don't do that.
I give them, they themselves will spring of water. So that's what
Welling
I'm kind
up.
of picking.
Mm-hmm.
Welling up. That's what I'm picking up.
Yes.
Because we could say we're thirsty, but nowadays, like, since you could be thirsty for something different, like, even though you're getting something that's being filled up, but you're still not full, and it kind of reminds me of, like, the question that God asked Adam, like, where are you? But nowadays we say, where are you? And we kind of say, like, well, I'm down. You hear something different. Well, I'm down. I'm regretful, or I'm sad. So this is the same. It's another way of saying that this thirst, that you're repeating the same thing again, and you're not getting a change. You're not getting something different. But with him, you will never thirst again.
Mm, mm, beautiful. I like that. I like that. The thirsty could mean many things for people, not just the fact that they're dehydrating physically, but because they're not feeling well, or it could be sad and seeking for something refreshing, something good, something new, something just enlightening. I like that, Sylvia. I really do. Thank you. Tabitha, what comes up for you based on, that whole concept of what Jesus was doing?
He is the living water, whether it's no matter what it is that you're going through, he's the one that'll give you life. So when you do thirst for something, thirst just like hunger, his word is supposed to be the bread that feeds us. His spirit is that's a thirst that only he and his word can quench.
Mm. Oh. The words that coming out of both of your mouths too is just enlightening.
Even when you get baptized, when you go down in the water and come back up, it's supposed to be renewed, rejuvenated, like just stirring the water up and just, yeah, that living water.
That living water. The living water. So I think of the water cycle and how it's being formed, and I begin to think about how necessary it is for us to constantly receive from the Lord. Constantly. I think of routine, and every day we need water to kind of to hydrate us, to give us refreshing refreshments, and just give us energy, allow us to cool ourselves down when we're not feeling well. We drink water to just kind of ease our bodies. And when we're sick, they always say drink a lot of water, just drink a lot of water, and just kind of just fills and just kind of cleanse us and heal us. And so I now look at it as how we need this living water every single day, like a water cycle, like how it's formed. So if Jesus says, come to me, that I am the living water, and I will give you a spring of water, is like I will give you enough. I will pour out to you. I'm not going to give you a drop, but I'm going to give you enough so it can satisfy you. And you don't need to look at anything else again. And so it goes deeper than that. But I'm going to stop here. Next week, we'll touch more into the spiritual concept of it. But even just looking at how water is being formed comes from I'm still saying heaven, comes from heaven, evaporates back up, and it's just a cycle over and over again. How our bodies need water constantly, and it tells us we're thirsty, or I'm dehydrating, I'm drying out. And like Sylvia mentioned, on the emotional level, we begin to feel sad and drained, discouraged. And we need this. We're thirsty for happiness, for joy, for goodness. And Jesus is giving us direction in a way and says, hey, if you're looking for something and you're constantly thirsty, you will constantly be thirsty. This is just a fact. If you're looking for something other than God, you will constantly be something. But I have a living water that will fill you up, will enlighten you, that it just lasts for eternally. How beautiful is that? How much we need that every single day, like a water cycle. We need that. And hence the reason why Spiritual Wellness Wednesdays are here, because we need this. We need this encouragement. We have a Sunday church. Many people go to church, the same reasons. They need that enlightenment. But this doesn't go, that is just not enough. You need it every single day. If I go one day without sitting with God, hearing, reading his word, praising, worshiping, my body starts to dwindle. My mind and my mental health starts to dry up. And I become desperately thirsty. And I sit with God and I get this wonderful feeling and enlightenment of spirit that I'm able to run through the day. And so I pray that this message itself have given you the living water that you needed to refresh you for today and for the days to come. So I thank you both for joining. Big kisses to those that couldn't make it today, and for those that are watching. I connect with you all in this enlightenment, living water, and enjoy the weather outside. Thank you all for being here, and I will see you next week.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great week. The rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you, little one.
He's asleep now. See you later.
Good for him.
Yeah. Guess he got 5 more minutes until we got there. Have a great day.
You too, Tabitha.